This is a two-part webinar. It initially begins with an explanation of items that either have been phased out in certain areas or that are planning to be. But then it also covers how Fulham is prepared to meet those ongoing needs with new products. So we've got your back. Bear with us for that second part of the webinar. All right, so with that said, I think that gives everyone enough time to have hopped on. This is Daniel Brenzel, Product Manager, and George Hernandez, Associate Product Manager, reviewing fluorescent lighting solution considerations.
Thank you, Jay. So we're going to start out by covering the regulations and different bans that have happened federally and statewide on fluorescent. Starting out with the federal level. So when we reference federal level, we're referencing nationwide. So this covers every single state. We're starting here with the Department of Energy, and they issued a ban back in 2012 for T12 lamps. When we talk about bans for all of these slides, we're talking about banning what's allowed to be produced. So stuff that's already manufactured is still able to be sold, but nothing can be produced with that type of lamp in this case. There's also been more stringent requirements on T8s and T5s from the Department of Energy, looking for more efficient lighting. So requiring that lumen standard and an output standard of 88 lumens per watt or higher to, again, reduce the drain on our electrical grid and reduce the wattage of each fixture. The EPA has also introduced regulations recently for fluorescent lamps. They've been really targeting the mercury content that's contained in every single fluorescent lamp. So they have imposed guidelines of how to properly dispose of those lamps. And it requires a more cumbersome process than just simply throwing it in a trash bin or a dumpster. It has to go to a very specific site to be taken care of in a very certain way. And now we'll start going to the state-by-state fluorescent bans that have already happened. So as mentioned earlier with the EPA, fluorescent lamps have always been discussed about being banned due to toxic substances, mercury, and other chemicals that are in those lamps that are harmful to our air. And also, a lot of these states want to make their whole lighting grid or lighting technology more modern and reduce its strain on the electrical grid. So moving to LED reduces the wattage in each fixture at a building, and then that building as a whole will have less strain on the electrical grid. So currently there are 13 states that already have implemented bans on CFL lamps. These are current bans that are already in place. So it ranges on the graph there from California all the way to Washington, D.C. Canada has also imposed these bans on CFL lamps as well. So we've listed Canada there as well. And then here we're going to cover what's going to be happening in the future in terms of statewide bans and sales on fluorescent lamps. A lot of these states will be prohibiting the sale of newly manufactured lamps beginning in 2025. And then more states will continue to ban these lamps in 2026 and 2027. So starting with a select number of states in 2025, and then more and more states sort of adopt this more stringent ban coming in 2026 and 2027. Currently, through-in-based CFLs have already been implemented in those 4 states that you see there: California, Oregon, Rhode Island, and Vermont. And again, Colorado, Hawaii, Illinois, Maine, Minnesota, and Washington will begin to impose a ban on those starting in 2025. In-based CFLs, the 13 mentioned above, will begin the ban starting on those, except for the states listed below. Now, regarding linear fluorescent, so all of the bans that we did cover reference compact fluorescent. California, Colorado, and Oregon are all leading the way with trying to start to implement a ban with linear fluorescent. This means that all four of these states will prohibit the sale of fluorescent lamps starting in 2025. So they have already banned compact fluorescents, and in the future here in 2025, they will ban linear fluorescent sale. Other notable places that are also working to and or have passed a future ban on linear fluorescent are Hawaii, Maine, Minnesota, Canada, and Illinois. We also do request that you do review each state mandates for the exact dates and exact products affected. It could be that some of these other states coming up in the future maybe only have a ban on a very specific type of linear fluorescent, whether that's T12 or T8, but it just depends. So what's next if you have fixtures that need to be replaced that require fluorescent tubes? This ban will force end users to make the switch to LED. And there's really two ways you can go to LED. You can either replace your fixture with a new fixture. So if it's a 2x4 panel, you can get a new LED panel, or you can modify your existing fixture with retrofit kits. And that's really where Fulham has plenty of solutions that fit a lot of those retrofit kit options. So here's a brief overview of the different retrofits that we have. We have panel and troffer retrofit kits. We have linear high output retrofit kits. So these are for 1x4, 2x2, and 2x4 fixtures, and isn't just limited to troffers, but can also be used in vapor tights and linear high bays. And then we also have retrofit kits for those CFL fixtures that have been banned for a little while now. And that would be your direct AC units, that's pictured there on the left, or DC engines, which are a little driver combined with a module. That's also pictured there on the left. And now George will start to cover each one of these three different options in more detail.
Thank you, Daniel. So we're going to go ahead and start this retrofit kit product section by reviewing pretty much our newest retrofit kit product, which is going to be our panel and troffer door frame retrofit kits. So these are going to be DLC 5.1 premium listed UL classified kits for 1x4, 2x2, and 2x4 grid ceiling mounted fixtures. So again, to replace some of those maybe T5, T8 fixtures that have now been essentially rendered obsolete due to the banning of the lamps that house them. The great thing about our DLC 5.1 premium listing is not just the listed aspect, but the fact that we are listed in 90 CRI. So that's something that is not very common yet in these types of retrofit kit products. Lastly, these 0 to 10 volt dimmable kits are color selectable at 3 different color temperatures. You'll see there 35, 4000, and 5000 Kelvin. And they are power selectable at 3 different power levels, depending on the model that's being used. As stated in the previous slide, these are some of the applications targeted for these types of retrofit kits. So you see there 2x4, 1x4, and 2x2 type fixtures. Any type of grid ceiling with these types of fixtures is the perfect application. So we have seen a lot of these applications mostly in schools and hospitals, but they will essentially work anywhere that having kind of to replace that entire fixture with something new simply is just not an option. So whether it's inability to access or break the ceiling in order to be able to replace that entire fixture. We do also have an emergency product that we recommend specifically for use with these panel and troffer retrofits. And that's going to be our 4-watt EM solution. So for the standard ceiling heights that these door frame retrofits are used in, that 4-watt, which is our small cost-effective emergency solution, will still output enough power in order to achieve over 500 lumens for a 90-minute runtime. As you can see the picture there on the right-hand side as well, the troffer versions of our kits do have the mounting hole pattern already set on the back for our emergency drivers. So very, very easy to mount and install these units. For the panel version, there is slight modification that is needed just due to the sleek design of the housing. However, we do have an available emergency kit that utilizes a 4-watt, a mounting bracket with pre-drilled holes, and the test switch plate for mounting that test switch. So still great emergency solution for these retrofits ready to go. And then this last slide here is just going to be kind of a one-page summary of all the specifications and certifications of all 6 of these products that we do have available. Next is going to be our linear HO retrofits. So kind of as Daniel had mentioned, these are going to be retrofit kits that are going to target fixtures with linear fluorescent lamps such as T5 and T8 bulbs. These are going to be for 1x2, 2x2, 1x4, 2x4 style fixtures. These are DLC 5.1 standard listed retrofits with various lumen packages available depending on the model. So our 2-foot kits you see there do range from as low as 2300 lumens to as high as 6600 lumens, while the 4-foot kits can go from around 4500 lumens all the way up to 15,000 lumens for our high bay retrofit kit. And then these are single color model kits with colors available from as low as 2700 Kelvin all the way up to 6500 Kelvin. Although these are single color, we are currently exploring options for color selectable versions of these kits as well. So please, if you are interested, reach out to a regional sales manager and then they can provide details on these color select versions that we are exploring. This next slide just shows a brief overview of some of the applications that these 2-foot and 4-foot kits have been used in. So here we have, your 2-foot troffer fixture, a 4-foot troffer fixture. You see there a vapor tight and then a high bay as well. Moving on to all of our retrofit kits intended for compact fluorescent bulb fixtures. So these are going to be your 13 to 36 watt triple, quad, twin bulbs, fixtures that house those type of fluorescent lamps. So starting with our VKM DC engines, these are our CUL US classified kits that do meet Energy Star and Title 24 requirements. One of the newer features of these kits is that all of these models are actually color selectable now in 6 different colors per model. So as you can see there, from 27 all the way up to 5000 Kelvin. And then we do have a total of 6 models available with varying wattages as well. On the application side of these DC kits, the example that I usually like to give is of the New York Hotel and Casino. So although this was done with the legacy non-color select versions of these kits, I do feel that this is still a great example of the difference maker that is a DC engine kit. And with these newer models, we have targeted the same specifications as the legacy versions. So light output will still be the same, even having that color selectability as a added feature. So in this application specifically, the management team really did not want to get rid of their fluorescent fixtures because they really liked the aesthetic look. So they decided to go the retrofit route and went ahead and chose our product. As you can see from the before and after pictures, you see how big of a difference you get in the light distribution from switching between a fluorescent and a LED product. And you can see on there just how big of a difference it is from the two and how it affects the visual aspect of that fixture as well. So very easy. All they did was remove the lamps, added in, screwed in our retrofit kits, and then there were no other major modifications needed to be done. Looks a lot better. Light distribution is much better. Moving on to our direct AC engine line, these are going to be a phase dimmable version of retrofit. So whereas the DC engine kits are 0 to 10 volt dimmable, these are going to be phase dimmable. I have broken the slides between the 2 different types of models, one being our legacy version, and then we have our new color selectable version. So our legacy version is going to be a universal voltage model that is phase dimmable down to 10% and available in single colors from 2700 Kelvin up to 5000 Kelvin. Although these units are not color selectable, we have found that customers do love the fact that we have a universal voltage direct AC engine that's not very common in the industry. So it does provide a lot of versatility for different types of applications. And for this reason, these units do still continue to be very popular in the market today. Again, intended for the same types of ceiling and wall mounted luminaires. As you can see here from the summary page, we do have various form factors available for these units, ranging from round and rectangular, as well as some linear lines. The round AC engines range from 3 inches in diameter all the way up to 10 inches in diameter. And then those linear bars on the right-hand side come in 5.5 inch, 11 inch, and 22 inch variations. Just to note as well, those 22 inch bars have been very popular in bathroom vanity mirror applications. So replacing older T5 linear bulbs have been a great application for those. Now moving on to our Color Select direct AC engines. So these are the newest of those direct AC retrofit kits. We do have 4 new models that are available, 3 round and 1 linear. And then the big difference of these is, as I had mentioned previously, these are going to be color selectable, with actually the 2 larger diameter round engines being power selectable as well. In an effort to keep these engines cost competitive, we have decided to make these units single voltage, and they are currently available in 120 volts specifically. However, we are working on new models that should be available early next year that are 230 to 277 volt as well. And then similar to those legacy models, you will see that these are also phase dimmable, triac, and ELV down to 10% as well. This second to the last slide here is just a general summary of these new engines. As you can see there, the second and the third round engines are going to be power select as well as color select. Again, this is just going to be kind of that one-page slide that encompasses all the specifications and certification information of these newer products. So very, very good reference slides for these products. Finally, here is a slide which showcases the types of fixtures in which one would normally see all of these retrofits being used. That includes the DC engines and the direct AC engines. Any style of ceiling and wall-mounted luminaire that houses a CFL lamp is a perfect target, especially if fixture aesthetic or lack of availability to modify the fixture area is of utmost importance. So definitely in terms of the types of retrofits we have for these, Fulham has tons of variety for different applications. Thank you guys for joining.
Yes, thank you very much for joining us today.